welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the MSME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, two small giants in focus. First up, we will be featuring Idea Forge, and on the other side of a short break, all about the tourism industry with Royal Mysore Walks. The market for drones is definitely picking up, and Karishma Vanjani brings you the special feature today on this company, which has been backed by Infosys, is aiming to make a difference in the 2,000 crore odd market. What is it doing when it comes to the manned UAV space, particularly as far as defense is concerned? We break that down for you with Idea Forge.
Military, surveillance, commercial, and even humanitarian activities. Drones have been a technological revolution in India since quite a few years. While their use cases are many, their unregulated practice can result in serious consequences.
Technology affects us positively, but it also has a destructive impact. And such is the case with drones. Studies suggest that drones have been used for illegal purposes. Reports of weaponized drones used for spying and stalking have surfaced in the past. But it's not all bad news here. Studies also suggest that globally, drones will offer a $100 billion business opportunity by 2020. And with over a dozen startups in the Indian startup drone market, it's exciting to see what's the future of drones in India. Today, I stand at the home of Idea Forge, a startup that has pioneered the manufacturing of military drones. So are you ready to take off? Ankit, thanks for joining us on Leaders of Tomorrow. So, Idea Forge holds about 90% of the Indian drone market share in the security domain. Compared to other startups in the same space, you're not targeting consumers, you're serving the government. You're essentially making drones for the military. What potential did you see in this space? What potential did you see by working with the government?
So when we started the entire business, government was the only customer who was really keen on using drones. This is even before UAVs became popular in India, and we also felt that they've got the first tips on a technology like this because it can be a huge aid in national security. And since then, our focus has been to see how we can get these systems in their hands. Being an Indian startup, we also realized that there were incumbents in the consumer space who had taken the space up very rapidly, not in India but globally. And it just did not make sense to try and innovate on the consumer side, and it made more sense to develop products which were very, very focused and specific to the needs that the country would absorb. And the regulations as well do not allow a UAV manufacturing in India is not allowed without a license, be it the civil aerospace space or the defense space.
You offer compelling solutions not just for the military but also for different verticals such as agriculture, utilities and telecom.
So entrepreneurs in this space, how do you think they can leverage a drone for their day-to-day operations?
What they can do is they can use it for a lot of applications around improving the efficiency of a lot of data collection that they do, if it can be done using the sensors that UAV mounts on them. Plus, it gives them the God's view of what we are doing in terms of looking at the entire area with a snapshot. So if you do multispectral imagery for an agricultural farm, you can understand which areas in the farm are, the plant growth is not as effective as other areas of the patch on the ground, where there may be a disease infestation happening. When it comes to mapping, you can do a full high fidelity three-dimensional model of as built, as on ground situation, and then use that to compare your plans with, and then find out what's the progress, whether the construction is happening as planned, whether it's happening in the right direction. Sometimes you don't know where to place material because the sites become very muddled very quickly. So you can pre-allocate locations where new material needs to be positioned. You can clear out areas. You can plan operations far better, more efficiently using these platforms. And similarly, security and surveillance is another domain. People are looking at patrolling. A lot of our national assets on the industrial side as well are operating in areas which are under a lot of threat for insurgency and other areas. So you can use these tools to manage, do emergency response much better than anything else.
As we're talking about the hardware market, what challenges did you face as a drone startup in India?
The hardware is not a very popular space for people to invest in. And when people or when investors look at hardware, scale, its scalability, its sustainability, a lot of questions pop to their mind, and a lot of investors in the country don't have that experience. So therefore, raising capital was a challenge in the past. But having said that, hardware is a fairly nascent space in India. The ecosystem for very high quality machining and manufacturing is just now building up, but it's not yet at a class where, let's say, it exists in China. In India, when you want to get something made at a very high quality, then you have to rely on supplies outside the country times. So I think government support, the banking system support in hardware is also an important and has a crucial role to play. When you're a first generation entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of collateral to offer to any of your banks, and therefore that's an area where it's really important for the banking system to evolve in a fashion that it becomes more friendly for a young enterprise trying to build something in the hardware space. So I think it's not very amenable for a young startup to build, and hardware needs capital. I mean, there is no denying that. To make hardware, you need capital. So that starting talk is not available at times, even for a startup that can get pre-orders and have confirmed customers who are willing to adopt the product.
We understand that the usage of drones is still somewhere between legal and illegal in India. But how do you think, as an entrepreneur, manufacturing drones for the military, how do you think the government can promote the growth of hardware startups in India?
There are two things that I would like to see with respect to support from the government. The first is to create an environment where whatever laws and regulations are there, which have been stated and are public is aware of, the enforcement is better. The other area where support is required in the UAV industry is clarity on private operations, and that will happen once the policy gets announced and operationalized. Once that happens, I think a lot of clarity will come to whoever wants to get into the space or whoever is there in the space as to how to scale and what environment to scale the operations around.
So we're talking about hardware market out here. Given the fact that hardware startups have to extensively focus on R&D, that does somewhere impact their margins. So how have your margins been like? How have your sales been like? Are you EBITDA positive?
We do focus on unit economics. We are an EBITDA positive company. We make sure that we are sustainable, as well as we have enough money to do development on what we've sold.
Given the potential use cases of drones across industries, be it e-commerce or military, why do you think the government has not framed regulations to promote innovation in this space? Where do you think we are lacking? What are the barriers out here?
So I think India has a unique challenge. In a lot of places, taking care of air safety is sufficient. But in India, national security is a huge issue. So I won't take a lot away from the government in trying to be extra sure about national security aspects as well. And therefore, getting all the agencies on board is a complex affair in any government regulation and drafting, and that's a process that takes time. Yes, it should have been done much faster, but at this point in time, I think it happening is more important than the time it's taken to.
So these are very interesting times ahead for the drone market. You see the market heating up in terms of opportunities for commercial applications of UAVs too. In the light of this, what is your advice for entrepreneurs watching this show who are trying to innovate in this space? Do you think they should look at working with the government, or should they target the consumers?
I would say opportunities there everywhere. What investors are looking for is a tremendous amount of scale in every opportunity that they are going to be backing or being behind, and therefore one has to evaluate every market that you're in and see if that market has the desired scale or not. The other factor that I would say is important for entrepreneurs to consider in this space is that it's not what you can build quickly or what you can bring together very quickly that's the important factor for long-term survivability. So don't jump the gun and get into an opportunity just because it seems easy to get into, because then you have to, it's a difficult model. Then you don't know where you're going for a while, and then that can be frustrating. You'll not get the right backing you hoped you will get just because something is very high on a cool quotient. It's not necessarily the most sustainable, scalable opportunity.
Thanks for joining us on Leaders of Tomorrow, Ankit. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Undoubtedly, the sky is the limit for Indian drone startups. The real breakthrough now would be to see what's the future of this technology in India, beyond agriculture, beyond military, beyond surveillance. Currently, there is a hugely expanding role for drone startups in India. Assuming government support, the options are limitless.
Let's take a quick break. What is Royal Mysore Walks all about? It's just what the name is suggesting. We'll bring you more on the other side. Just stay tuned. You're back with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on the show we're focusing on the tourism space. Royal Mysore Walks, based in Mysore, is our small giants tonight. Tourism is expected to contribute 10% to India's GDP by the year 2027, and more companies are looking at offering innovative models to capture a larger share of the pie, particularly to new age travelers who want a more one-on-one immersive experience when it comes to the local cuisine as well as heritage. One such company, Royal Mysore Walks, and today Mansi Choksi brings you this company that is basically, like its name suggests, offering a more immersive, interactive experience. Take a look.
Mysuru is a confluence of art, history, food and culture. It welcomes its visitors with relics of the past and colors of its rich culture. Capitalizing on Mysuru's heritage, a tourism company is offering a unique travel experience in the city.
Royal Mysore Walks was founded by Vinay Parmeswarappa in 2009. It organizes a variety of gully tours for tourists who wish to experience the city like a local. From cycling tours to walks into the centuries-old local markets, Mysore Royal Walks attempts to immerse travelers into the charm of the city.
The thing is that if you don't know the place and you're coming here for the first time and you've got lots of amazing little places that you don't know, you've never read about, or you've read about but you don't know exactly where it is, and it's not just about only showing you the buildings and the surroundings and giving you a little bit of the history. There's a lot of the guides, when they take you, they give you a lot of their little quirky stories, a little bit of humor, a little bit of what's happening around. These are things that going around on your own, you wouldn't know.
We caught up with the founder of Royal Mysore Walks to ask him about what inspired him to start this journey.
As somebody growing up in India, I've always really enjoyed traveling. I think I'm lucky to be in a family where we travel quite a bit. I think every summer vacations we look forward because we went to some part of the country or the other. And I think that really stayed in me. I think the travel bug got to me quite early on. Later on in life, I used to be working as a techie, and while working in Singapore, I really got to travel across Southeast Asia. I was really taken back by how well this whole space, the travel tourism space, has evolved in Southeast Asia. And while living in Singapore, what really shocked me was Singapore as a city country gets more tourists than the whole of India. And Singapore has about 40 years of history and we probably 5,000. And I happened to go on a chance walking tour in Singapore, and it really appealed to me on 3 levels. I think on travel, on trivia, and I think meeting people. And I think that's when I very strongly felt that there's a massive opportunity in India. I think we just need to package and market what we have back home. So which is why I decided to come back, and I quit and I started Royal Mysore Walks.
The tourism industry in India is thriving and expected to contribute 10% to the country's GDP by 2027. With various factors fueling this growth, tourism sector is beaming with opportunities for MSMEs.
I think if you ask me, we're probably the only country on the planet to have snow-capped mountains, deserts, beaches, backwaters, palaces, temples, the whole culture and the food aspect as well. So I think it's a great destination. I think it's extremely rewarding for anybody to come in here. So I think there's always been a strong interest for India. There's never been a doubt there. But I think what's really fueling this growth, I think, is on 3 levels. I think one, if you look at connectivity, I think with more airports coming up, it's really helping travelers come into the country easily with better roads, better infrastructure. So I think that's really helping tourism as a whole in the country. I think also with accommodation, I think you're seeing a lot of very interesting players here, some world-class properties that have come up across the country. Also interesting, a lot of backpacker hostels as well. So I think we're really able to cater to a wider segment of travelers in the country. And the last bit being the whole experiences and activities in a destination. And I think what you're seeing in the last decade, I think, is a lot of very interesting activities on the ground. Largely, I think we focused on tourism revolving around monuments. Come see the Taj, go back. But I think now you're seeing incredible experiences on the ground. It could be with food, it could be with culture. It's just about taking in a destination holistically. So I think very, very encouraging signs. And I think we're only going to build from strength to strength. I think a lot of marketing as well. I think the Incredible India campaign was a very strong campaign. We're seeing a lot of Indians traveling abroad on work, for universities abroad. So I think people are warming up to the whole idea of India, just not Bollywood and yoga, but I think the whole concept of India. So it's an encouraging sign.
Royal Mysore Walks offers a variety of tours in Mysuru.
If you look at a destination, you can explore it differently. It could be by a walk, on a cycle, in an open jeep, different modes of transportation. If you also look at, I think, the kind of categories, it could be on history, culture, food and cuisine, architecture. So I think some of the tours that we run, like in Mysore, we run a walking tour. It's a mix of history and food. Mysore is really popular for its Mysore Pak, the masala dosa, the culinary aspects of it. We also do a cycle tour early in the morning. It's a great way to take in the city waking up. We do something called Tipu's Trail, which is just off the city of Mysore, a little island called Srirangapatna. It's a little known fact, the British have fought wars around the world. The richest war hall was in Srirangapatna. If you take a city like Bangalore, we do a startup tour. It's a startup hub for Asia. We do a tour in the old part of the city called the Payday Walk. If you look at Coorg, we do a coffee trail. I think the whole idea is to bring out the essence of a city through these different tours and experiences that we have.
Fundraising is one of the biggest challenges that startups face. How was your experience with fundraising?
We bootstrapped. I think it was my personal savings that I had to start the business, and it's also largely a cash flow business, so we didn't need too much of investment to begin with. I also personally feel there's too much of song and dance around the whole fundraising bit in startups. I think it's the entrepreneur, the idea, his drive and his passion that comes first. Of course, funds are important, and I think it probably comes at different stages for different startups. Like for us, our initial phase we were bootstrapped. Of course, we had interest in people who wanted to fund us. Maybe I think in the next phase, that's something we might want to consider.
Marketing is crucial for the companies working in tourism sector. Tell us about your marketing strategy.
Marketing, I think, here is extremely important. I think it's in two parts, what we do offline and what we do online. If you also look at our business, a part of it is B2B and a part of it is B2C. And I think with our B2B business, part of a business, we work with a lot of travel companies in India and also across the world. And a lot of it is built on our relationships that we've had with them. I think they've come, experienced our products, and I think they've really valued it, and I think the kind of customer feedback they've had. So I think that's the offline bit of it that we do with our B2B customers. I think it's the B2C where you could see, I think, a lot of creativity and experimentation. I think a lot of focus on social media right now. I think platforms like Instagram have been extremely helpful for startups like this, Facebook or TripAdvisor. I think and we have a great reach, I think, using these platforms. So we also do a lot of offline marketing in destinations. We tap with hotels, restaurants, cafes. We're always looking for, I think, collaborations and partnership. I think, like with Uber, we work with them during Dasra. Just like how you could book a cab, you could book a tour. A cab would come, pick you up, you could do the tour and drop you back. So I think we're constantly looking for partnerships, but I think to answer your question, it's a mix of offline and online strategies that we use.
Royal Mysore Walks is operating in 3 cities. Apart from Mysuru, they offer tours in Coorg and Bengaluru.
We started off in Mysore in 2009. And I think now we operate in 3 cities in Bangalore, Mysore and Coorg. And we really enjoyed building this business across these 3 destinations. And if you look at our business model, I think it's in 3 parts. I think one, wherein we go out and create experiences. 2 is the marketing, the ops, and 3rd is the strong academy. I think where we're working with people on building skill sets. And yeah, for sure, I think we're looking at expanding. Very soon you'd see us in Cochin, and we'd love to add more interesting destinations as we go by. And I think in a country like India, I think every city has a story to tell, and we'd love to get to more cities and see we could tell the story of the city.
With the growing popularity of gully tours, more avenues are opening up for startups in the tourism space. It will be exciting to see how many more entrepreneurs tap into the space.
Out of time on the show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, or like either of these 2 companies, if you want to be featured here on the show, here's how you get in touch. leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com is our email ID. On social media, tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET Now. You can also reach us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.